Welcome back to Chaos in the Old World. We are going to be finishing up this episode with round 1, and we're into the corruption phase now, which follows the battle phase. And so we're going to be looking at each individual region in order, following the arrows, and seeing if any of the Chaos Gods has a domination in that region. And domination is a factor of the value of the cards played and individual miniatures. So each miniature is worth 1 domination value, and each value on the card is also worth whatever it is. So if it's a 1 on the card, it's worth 1. So we're going to start up north in Noska, and we're going to look and see if there's some domination going on in some of the regions. And if there is, then you're going to get victory points based on the red circle number in the area. So let's take a look first at Norska. All right, so we as Tzeentch exiled, teleported a couple of the Khorne bloodletters up here in Norska. So there are 2 miniatures for Khorne, and there's only 1 resistance in Norska. So they do have domination there, and of course they're the only miniatures there. So they are going to score 1 victory point. So let's go to the victory point track for Norska, and Khorne is going to spring into the lead. All right, so all of us here are at the 0, and Khorne is going to take the lead with 1 victory point, and the rest are at 0. All right, we're going to go to the second region, which is Troll Country, then over to Kislev and the Empire, and keep going. So let's take a look and see if there's any more domination happening. All right, way up here in Troll Country, that's the next one. There are no miniatures at all and no cards, so there will be no domination happening whatsoever in that region. However, we have the contested Kislev. And in Kislev we have 4 miniatures for Nurgle, and only 1 for Khorne and 1 for Slaanesh. And so 4 is greater than that number 3, the resistance. And so Nurgle is going to score 3 victory points for Kislev. So let's go over to the victory point track and give Nurgle his well-deserved 3 points. All right, Nurgle, little green token here, 1, 2, 3 victory points. All right, back to the board, and we're going to see if there's any more domination happening. All right, so as Tzeentch, we messed around with Slaanesh's card here, which said for each noble token, they're going to get 2 towards domination, which would have given them a domination in this region. However, they only have 3 miniatures, and 1 on their card is 4. The resistance in the Empire is 5. So by us, Tzeentch, playing that card, we basically screwed over Slaanesh. So they do not have dominance in this region. They're going to score no points. Let's look to the next region and see what happens over there. All right, Bretonnia is up next. There's only 1 of our Tzeentch cultists here, and there's only 1 Khorne cultist, and it has a resistance of 3. Nothing much is going to happen. In the Empire, next up is Estalia. All right, so in Estalia, we did a good job here as Tzeentch. We have 1, 2, 3 cultists, and we have 1, 2 adding up to 2 teleport cards. That's going to be a total of 5 domination points. The resistance in Estalia is only 4. So we beat the resistance in Estalia. And as a bonus, because there's a noble token here, the point value when we're scoring victory points is going to be +1 for this token. It's going to be 5 points. So Tzeentch, which is us, or I guess me playing it, is going to jump to the lead with scoring 5 points for Estalia. All right, so as Tzeentch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points for us. That's good stuff. And Slaanesh did not get any domination and did not get any points yet. Back to the board, we only have 3 areas left, and we'll have a look at those. All right, so it's pretty clear. We get to Tilia here. There's no miniatures, no cards. We get to the Border Princes. Again, no miniatures, no cards. We get to the Badlands. No miniatures, no cards. There's going to be no domination. All right, so that's the first half of the corruption phase. The second half of the corruption phase has to do with placing corruption tokens. And we're going to go through the same order again and do that. But I'm going to skip a little bit here because when we go up to the very top, bloodletters do not place corruption. The only miniatures that place corruption on the board are cultists. There's no cultists in Norska, no cultists in Troll Country. So let's go to Kislev, which is next up. There are some cultists there, and we're going to be placing some corruption. All right, so in Kislev, We have 3 Nurgle cultists. That's the only cultist there. So we're going to be placing 3 Nurgle corruption tokens in Kislev. And now when it comes to corruption, if there is ever 12 or more corruption, total corruption in a region, it is ruined. And then we'd get a ruination card, and it basically means the area has been, ruined and destroyed. Of course, that's not happening here. We only have 3. However, warp stone tokens count as 1 corruption. And so the other thing we're going to look at right now is Nurgle's dial advancement ability. It says when you place 2 or more corruption tokens in a populous region, you get to add a token to your threat dial. This is a populous region, and Nurgle has just placed 3 threat tokens, which is 2 or more. So let's go to his threat dial. He's going to get an advancement token. All right, good for Nurgle. They get 1 advancement token. We place it on their wheel. And let's go back now to the next area for placing corruption. And the next area is the Empire, where we as Tzeentch messed around with Slaanesh, so they did not have dominance. However, they do have 3 cultists. They will be placing 3 corruption tokens for Slaanesh. Go into this region, so we'll just put them here. And Slaanesh's special ability for dial advancement is when you place 2 or more corruptions in a region with a noble or a hero. Well, this is a noble. They will get a token on their advancement wheel. So let's go and give Slaanesh a token. All right, so Slaanesh also did what they needed to do. They're going to get a token on their advancement wheel. All right, back to the board. We're going to add some more corruption. Okay, so next up, Bretonnia. We have Tzeentch. We have 1 cultist, and Khorne has 1 cultist. So Khorne will be placing 1 corruption, and we, as Tzeentch, will also be placing 1 corruption. And not much is going to happen for wheel advancement there, because you need 2 or more anyway. And for Khorne, their wheel advancement is all about just killing other miniatures, has nothing to do with corruption. And for us, Tzeentch, we need to place 2 or more corruption tokens in a region that has either a warp stone, which this does not, or a magic symbol. On to the next and last region for corruption, because the Tilia, Border Princes, and Badlands have no miniatures at all. So we're going to go to Estalia and wrap up this portion of the round. All right, so in Estalia, we did a pretty good job here. We've got 3 cultists for Tzeentch, which means we're going to be placing 3 corruption tokens down here. And it is in a place with a warp stone. So our special dial advancement rule for Tzeentch is if you place 2 or more corruption in a region that has either a warp stone or a magic symbol, and either or, we get a wheel advancement. So we're going to add a token to ourselves to Tzeentch. So let's go to the token wheels, or the threat dials, and add a token to the wheel. All right, we're going to add 1 for us, Tzeentch. We get a dial advancement token as well. So it looks like everyone this turn got a dial advancement token. That's pretty interesting. All right, so the next thing we are going to do is we are going to the end phase. And the end phase has a whole bunch of steps in it. We have to follow them one at a time. And so let's do that. All right, so the beginning of the end phase means it's just basically we remove cards from the board. The only cards on the board are the 2 teleports that we played, and they don't have any lingering effects to stay on the board. We play Change the Ways, and we take Slaanesh's card. So these just go into a discard pile. So discard pile for us, Slaanesh's discard pile, and our discard pile. And so up next in the end phase scenario is to deal with hero tokens. Well, all we have is noble tokens, warp stones, and peasants on the board, so we do not have any hero tokens. If we did, hero tokens would destroy 1 unit per hero token, and they would destroy a unit with the highest threat value in the region that they were in. But we don't have them, so we're not going to worry about it right now. Next up is to be resolving old world cards. Well, we do not have any old world cards face up right now to resolve, so we won't be resolving any. If we did, there would be text on the bottom of the card, and probably at this point in time the text would tell us to do something resolving the Old World card. Next would be to score ruined regions, and as you saw, this is just the first turn. No region has been ruined yet, which means it has 12 or more corruption in it, so that's not going to happen. But if we did ruin a region, then we would score points for the ruined region right now. And next up is to advance the threat dials. So we're going to do that in order. So we're going to start with Khorne, and we're going to do Nurgle, us, Tzeentch, and Slaanesh. So we're going to zoom in a little bit on the threat dials, and we're each going to get advancement of 1 because we each put a token on. So let's go over and have a look at that. All right, so we're going to advance. Khorne here starts first. He has 1 token on, and I will say if somebody has a majority of tokens on their wheel, so say if Khorne had 2 on here, he would get 2 clicks because everyone else only has 1. If Khorne had 3 and Nurgle had 2, again, the one with the most dial advancement tokens gets to do two ticks of their dial. If there's a tie for most, so say if Khorne had 2, Nurgle had 2, then they would just advance 1, even though they were more than, say, the 1 of Slaanesh and Tzeentch. All right, so we're going to advance Khorne 1 space on his dial. And it basically says score 4 victory points. And now his threat has gone from 3 up to 6. So immediately we're going to score 4 victory points for Khorne. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so Khorne advances 4 points on the victory track. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now tied with us, Tzeentch, at 5 points. Let's go back to the dials, and it's going to be Nurgle up next. All right, so up next we're going to take the token off of Nurgle, and Nurgle gets 1 advancement of the wheel, and we're going to go 1 tick. They're going to score 3 victory points, and their threat now goes to 5. All right, let's go to the point tracker and score Nurgle 3 points. All right, Nurgle advancing 3 points. 1, 2, 3, up to 6 points, passing Khorne and Tzeentch. Next up is us, Tzeentch. We get a turn of the dial. Let's have a look and see what happens. All right, up next is us, Tzeentch. We have 1 token. We're going to get an advancement, and we're going to get to place a warp stone, and our threat moves up to 7. All right, so we get to go to the main board, and we get to place 1 warp stone in any region that we want. All right, as Tzeentch, we have decided to place a warp stone in Bretonnia, which is a populous region, already has a noble. This is where we placed 1 of our cultists last turn, and we're right next door to Estonia, so we will be able to begin placing more units. And of course, if we get 2 or more corruption in any space, with a warp stone, we're going to be able to put 1 token to advance our threat dial. So that's a good thing. All right, last up is Slaanesh. They also get a turn of their threat dial, so let's have a look and see what theirs is. And so up last is Slaanesh. They have a token on their dial. They get to rotate once, and they get to also score 3 victory points. Their threat now is 8. They have the highest threat of all. So Slaanesh scores 3 victory points. Let's go to the victory point track and score their points. All right, Slaanesh is at 0. They're going to get 3 victory points. 1, 2, 3. So as it stands right now, Nurgle has 6 points. Khorne and Tzeentch have 5, and Slaanesh has 3. Probably because we, as the Tzeentch player, messed over Slaanesh big time in the Empire. I'm sure that's going to come back and bite us later in another round. All right, so back to the main board and wrap up this episode, which is the second half of round 1. All right, so the very end of the end phase is to check for victory conditions, and we do them in a very specific order. The first thing we look at is the dials. Has anyone got their dial to the, Khorne wins, Khorne victory, Nurgle victory? No, they have not. Next, we look at the victory point track. Has anyone got 50 or more points? They would win. The answer to that is no. And then after that, just to check the rules correctly here. So those are the first 2 things you look for. Let me come right back and we'll look at the last things we look for as far as victory conditions go. All right, so the last two things we look for in order is the game ends if 5 regions have been ruined. Well, we haven't even ruined one region yet, but if 5 regions had been ruined, the Chaos God with the highest victory points would then be declared the winner. And lastly, if the card deck here was empty, which means we've drawn all 7 cards here, and no one had any of the other victory conditions, it would mean that all 4 Chaos Gods lose the game, which means the old world has fought us off, and nobody is the victor except the old world, so you basically lose. All right, that is the conclusion of round 1. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing if you do that, and thanks for liking the videos as well. I appreciate it. And of course, yes, many more playthroughs to come. And my channel also has, I think, about 20, 25, 27, I forget exactly how many playthroughs on it already. If you want to check that out, you can take a look at my playlists and see which games I've done complete playthroughs of. And anyway, thanks so much for watching. Join me next time for Chaos in the Old World, where we're going to begin round 2.